There are poker faces, and then there's the face of Patrik Antonius. Patrik Antonius is a Finnish pro who's famous for being completely stone-faced. It's impossible to know what he's thinking or feeling. He is also a phenomenal player, so here's a treat for you poker fans. It's some of the finest Patrik Antonius moments caught on camera.
$400.
I actually like this 3-bet. I think if he had, just slightly better suited cards, I think those are calls, but 7-3 suited is kind of the hand that if you want to play, I think a 3-bet is actually a better option than calling from the big blind. I mean, unfortunately, Shemian does have a hand that he's not going to go anywhere with.
Yeah, Shemian has called the re-raise. 860,000 in the middle. But that is a horrible board for eights.
And that's kind of the beauty of 3-betting a hand like 7-3 suited is it gives you board coverage on these type of flops. You can rep them easily. Whereas if you just call pre, you're just going to check fold.
275.
Here he does what Patrik Antonius does bet. 275,000 with 7 high. Now Shemian is no slouch. We've seen him make some strong reads. We've seen him make some big calls, but
yeah, it's just about whether or not he thinks Antonius is getting out of line with his 3-bets, but if Antonius has any value in his 3-bets from that position, then that's all Antonius on that flop.
Antonius just calls in the small with fives, and Shemian checks his option.
Are you really staring me, man? I don't like when you stare.
Uh-oh.
I like though.
Still
So
poker
beautiful.
being played, by the way.
What are you calling?
Oh, man.
Patrik with his set of fives bets 100,000. Shemian has paired his 3 but has less than 1% equity. Calls the bet. And
Ooh.
Trips for Shemian. Full house for Antonius.
Oh boy.
The sickness continues.
We are a frenzied bunch back here.
The poker gods must have a dinner reservation tonight.
Antonius fires again. 250,000.
$665.
Shemian raises.
Oh boy.
So instead of moving all in, you just re-raise his raise.
3-bet from Patrik Antonius to 1.3 million.
I mean, Patrick, he's old school. He's going to click it back. Just like in the FTP nosebleeds.
Looks insanely strong to me.
Shemian calls the raise. This hand going to the river.
Could it be a queen?
We have got a pot of close to 3 million.
Maria, you're sick. You're sick, and I like it.
The river is a 7. It's always coming
It
7.
is always coming 7.
Patrick's got $1 million behind.
And even though Shemian's going to be getting a really good price to call on the river, that's one of the cards that's just terrible for his hand.
Shemian has pretty good instincts. We've seen him make some big calls. We've seen him make some big folds. But yeah, there's 4 million. It's $1 million to call.
I call. Oh boy.
Shemian calls. Patrik Antonius gets the full double up with the full house. New chip leader at the table, ladies and gentlemen.
New old chip leader. Old school Antonius.
EPT Baden 2005 champ Patrik Antonius now leads the EPT Monte Carlo main event with an 85 big blind stack, 5.1 million. Antonius raising with 8-4.
Queen 9 for Gunnar.
Osterbrod calls the raise. The flop is 8-7-4. 2 pair for Patrik. Not much for Osterbrod to get excited about.
Is that 3 hands in a row where someone's flopped 2 pair?
Yeah.
Patrik bets 60,000.
Osterbrod really trying to figure this bet out. What can it mean?
Gunnar announces all in.
Yeah, you ain't getting a fold here, pal.
Wow. Nice try, but makes the wrong move at the wrong time and runs into the 2 pair of Patrik Antonius. And Osterbrod is the player at risk here. And with that card on the turn, it is all over. Gunnar Osterbrod, the runner-up for 120,384 euros. Patrik Antonius, the winner, 288,180 euros. This is the moment that Patrik Antonius became an EPT champion. Bad news for Patrik Antonius, a queen high flop.
Ruh-roh. Antonius a day late.
Yeah, when you're this short, you gotta just bet and just hope you've got the best hand. You don't want to commit a lot of your chips just to fold it on a later street when you flop this well. Question is, does King Queen want to raise and try to get in now, or does he think his opponent is making a move? He does get it in now.
So far.
So Antonius needs a 10 to stay in this tournament.
At least I made the money. 10.
Accentuate the positive, Patrik.
10 of spades and the reverse spade.
Turn spade.
The positive would be trying to buy a piece of Imserovich right now, really. That's his best bet.
Got to be a 10.
Now I want a heart.
Three out.
Rude.
Oh! Patrik Rivers the 10.
To my vote. I mean,
2 pair for Antonius.
No wonder you moved up very quickly. 73.
Maybe don't ask for the heart next time.
Tell me how you had.
We are going to the outer tables. And there's a hand between Patrik Antonius and Connor Beresford. Beresford has bet 32,000 and Patrik has been in the tank for some time.
Time.
And
Time on table
sounds like the
9.
clock's just been called, Finton.
Right, so time has been called, so you have 30 seconds to make your decision from now.
So the board is Jack 10, 10, 7 deuce. No flush possible. Patrick running out of time.
5, 4,
5-second countdown.
3, 2.
Patrick calls. Connor Beresford tables ace-9 for ace-high. Patrick tables fours. What a hero call.
Nice call.
Wow.
Antonius with the raise with the 2 sevens. Quick re-raise from Lau with the kings, all in. Pretty reasonable. Whoa.
3 pocket pairs in one hand.
No. Mm-mm.
Of course, Adrian Mateos was involved in a particularly famous incident in 2015 where it was queens, kings, and aces with jacks folded. I think there was also a pair of 5s in that hand as well.
Not now, fatty.
So Low, of course, is very short, and that's not really a major factor in Kanunikov's decision-making.
Wow, does he fold the 9s? I'm pretty impressed by that fold. I think Antonius is just going to have to call here. 12 not big blinds, 2 sevens. Not going to be able to fold.
Now, normally, I would say this is a great spot for Low. As Patrick Antonius does indeed call, putting Low at risk. He is a 4-1 favorite. He has the overpair. However, there is an old adage that it is always coming 7. And I'm not going to lie to you, I fear for Zhejiang Low right now.
It has been all about the 7s. It has been always coming 7. 777 entrants in this main event.
It's the year of the 7. The flop does not have a 7 on it. 5 tray deuce. Spades would be a factor. Should we see another one on the turn? It's a 7. 7 on the turn. And Patrick Antonius takes a commanding lead. Zhejiang Low now needs a king on the river to survive.
It is always coming 7.
No king. Antonius KO's Low. How do you feel about that one, Andre Latau?
7!
Mateos is under the gun raise. Called by Huber and Antonius. 3-way action. Jack 7-5. Top pair for Antonius and Mateos, but Mateos has top.
Throw an 8 on the turn out there. I'm talking like you now.
Just looking for carnage.
Throw an 8 out on the turn.
Oh, you mean the lack of proper pronunciation?
It's weird because my dad kind of talks like that, even though he's not Irish.
Mateos continues for 65,000. A fold from Huber. Decision now on Antonius.
Pretty interesting to see the snap fold from the 2 8s. I think it's quite reasonable given that Mateos is under the gun, continuing to 2 people, but it is a pretty dry board. It's going to be continuing with hands like ace-king, king-queen, maybe queen-10 with backdoors. I'd imagine that Mateos will be looking for 3 streets here versus a big blind. That's going to have a lot of jack-X.
Potpourri says Huber's not going to see a turn. Correct. Clap, clap, clap.
We all know how aggressive Mateos is, so when he makes a hand as strong as top pair, top kicker, he's going to be looking for a lot of value. And I feel Antonius just has a hand that's probably going to have to call 3 times, provided that we don't see a really scary river. The 8, the 9, the 10 of hearts, kings, queens, aces, obvious ones. Well, king would give him 2 pair.
Mateos fires a second barrel, 180k. Still hard for Antonius to get away from this.
Pooh face, man, is calling Patrick Antonius Yondu. He's slightly more attractive than Michael Rooker, but not by much.
So the river is an 8, which would have been a rivered set for Huber, but he folded the flop. It's irrelevant. Point is, Mateos is still ahead. Antonius still has top pair. We'll probably see a third barrel from Mateos. The question, Vincent, is will Antonius call it?
I think it's going to be a very tough fold to make, but apart from missed hearts, it's hard for Mateos to have a lot of natural bluffs here.
Well, this is chunky. It's 2/3 pot. Patrick has 30 seconds to make a decision. He has still got some time bank cards. He can use those.
Antonius is ticking.
To buy extra thinking time.
He did play the super high roller. So he's familiar with the dynamic.
Well, he's eating into his time bank supply for sure.
I think this is a very reasonable spot to think about. That's a fantastic
Nice
fold.
Doug Polk with 7-4 offsuit, and Patrick Antonius, we don't know yet what he has. And the flop has 7-4-5, so he must have known Grant.
It's easy when you know it's coming, Paul. Just top and bottom pair for Doug. No idea what Patrick's got.
It's 6,000.
It's 2 clubs on board. So there's a draw out there. Pretty coordinated board.
Well, Antonius bets 6,000, and Polk calls, the pot climbing to 18,000. The turn, a 5 of hearts.
Now that is a card that could potentially counterfeit Doug's hand. He's leading out. I guess he wants to know where he stands in the hand.
Well, Polk electing to lead into Patrick that time. Patrick having none of it and raising.
And Doug flopped a very big hand that has become a much smaller hand. He just has 2 pair 7s and 5s with no kicker. Still has top pair, of course, but it's very vulnerable at this point.
Well, he makes the call. You can hear a lot of chatter at these tables. Quite incredible. We're talking about prop betting and stuff. The river is a queen of spades.
I expect Patrick continue with the aggression here. Reach for a lot of chips.
$90,000 is the bet from Patrick Antonius. Quite a big bet there, Grant.
That's a big bet. It's almost 1.5 times the size of the pot. Well, he realises his hand doesn't have a great deal of value, and he thinks he can get Patrick off by putting in a big raise.
Wow, this is going to be a big raise. Well, let's wait for the amount. That is a huge raise.
One day you were just dead asleep. It was weird. In Macau?
And Patrick has to have a think about this.
302,000 is the bet. The pot now at almost $500,000, and Patrick turning almost like an action hero and looking at him with a stare. He can't believe that raise came.
He's probably wishing he'd just bet about half pot. The fact that he's bet so big means he's faced with a huge raise.
All of a sudden, all the chatter at the table has backed off. They've realised that these guys are in a $500,000 pot.
He doesn't like it. And I'm almost certain that Patrick's got the best hand here.
I call.
Wow, he does call. Let's see if you're right, Grant. He turns over his hand, and it is 8-6. So, wow, look at that. He's flopped a straight. He must have considered that that was a full house that he was going to call off to.
No.
Yeah, it was a nice little move from Doug, that's for sure.
Just the blinds in it, if you think.
And Patrick just grits the teeth and calls with the straight.
Wow, well, that is a huge pot of almost $750,000 in cash.
And that flop is king high. Antonius outflopped.
He's got to be thinking now, what's the best way that he can get all the chips into the middle? I'd imagine on this board that he wants to probably be c-betting pretty small. If he's going to bet hands like 10s, jacks that he occasionally squeezes, he's going to want to c-bet ace-queen. Wow. Don't doubt the jam jars. Do not doubt the jam jars. I do not see a world in which Antonius does not get a double up now. 89,000 behind, 89,000 in the pot.
And the irony is, if that turn card had been a deuce or an ace, that face would still look the same.
He does not give much away at all.
So we've got a 90k pot. Stepanian shoves. And Antonius has called on their backs. And the river card is irrelevant. Stepanian is drawing dead. Patrik Antonius is going to double up here. How it's possible, Vladimir, is that he's Patrik Antonius and you're not.